The big problem that Pokemon Masters is creating is that of them putting seemingly far more focus onto mobile titles than actual mainline Pokemon games. So let's start this off in the simple manner. What is Pokemon Masters? Well, it's an upcoming Pokemon mobile game that's going to be coming to iPhone and Android. You know how that all works. And this game is being developed by DNA. Now, DNA have created other games such as Fire Emblem Heroes and that sort of stuff, so they're known for making mobile games mainly, even Super Mario Run, I think, they created. Now, as that may come up to your mind, you might already know what Pokemon Masters is going to be, because I've already said this before, but it's going to be a gacha game, which means it's going to rely on microtransactions to make its money. And that you already know is a problem, because you know it's going to include stuff like energy meters that are going to force you to have to pay if you want to actually progress in the game. And I can already tell you right now that's going to be annoying as hell. Now, I'm still going to be giving the game a shot. I'm still going to play it. It's a free game. I don't plan on spending any money on it, so if I'm going to look at it from that perspective, I'm not going to waste any money on it though. But here's what the problem is with Pokemon Masters. The game itself is doing something that's honestly kind of foreseeable and that we've kind of seen coming for a while now, but a lot of people have disregarded. Now, if you look at the game itself, right, it's doing a lot of things that you don't really see for most of the mobile games that have been created so far, up until now, by the Pokemon Company and, you know, developers that are making the games for them. So, for example, the game features characters that are in the mainline games, and this is the first time they've done this for a mobile game. Even with Pokemon Go, and this is something that Sil Spectre also brings up in his video, even with Pokemon Go, they didn't actually include old characters from previous games. Instead, what they did was they actually made brand new, like totally brand new characters for Pokemon Go, because they didn't want to, like, you know, connect the two with mainline games. So, you know, they didn't want to connect the Pokemon Go characters with the mainline characters, because the mainline characters were above all other stuff, right? They were the kind of main thing, and Game Freak was always kind of the top dog. And not just that, but if you look at the Pokemon Masters game, you actually have a Pokemon League to take on, you've got badges to collect, you've got a new gimmick featured, the sync moves, which is usually in mobile games, you have some sort of feature, brand new. Also a brand new evil team, and even a brand new region. And all these features are stuff that you would see in mainline games. This is what we used to in mainline games. A brand new region, a brand new evil team, a brand new gimmick, a brand new, you know, league to take on, brand new badges, brand new gym leaders, all that sort of stuff. And all these characters don't really show up anywhere else besides the mainline games. And this is an inherent problem that's going on with Game Freak right now. It all stems from the fact that Game Freak is losing ground within the Pokemon Company due to the success of Pokemon Go. And I think that really the only blame here is mobile gaming in general. Mobile gaming has created this kind of like evil within gaming development, where now we have a problem, which is that game developers are pushing more, or game companies rather, are pushing more towards mobile games because they can make far more money for less money spent. And what do I mean by this? Well, making a mobile game like Pokemon Masters or Pokemon Go takes far less effort than making something like a full-on mainline, you know, brand new generation, like, you know, any previous generation that we've had, including Sword and Shield now. You know, just making a mobile game is far less expensive as well. It takes less time, far less expensive, and also the income from it can be actually quite higher than that of a mainline game that's being sold to a console. Now, where is the biggest problem here? Well, if this keeps happening, if we keep seeing mobile games being released with all these features included in them to just kind of keep us interested in Pokemon, really, if these keep popping up, keep taking money from us, and we keep getting mainline games that are getting worse and worse with less and less features, we might be seeing Pokemon going into its deepest decline ever. Now, this all begins with what we have right now, which is Game Freak moving over from Pokemon to develop other IPs. They're currently working on Town, which is their brand new IP, and they're putting their production team 1, which is their main team, to develop brand new IPs instead of Pokemon. And why is this? Well, that's because the Pokemon Company doesn't see Game Freak anymore as their main money maker. They don't see Game Freak at the same position as they used to be back in the day, because back in the day, Game Freak was their main money maker. The spin-off games they used to produce and release weren't the main money maker. You know, they'd release Mystery Dungeon, they released Stadium, released Battle Revolution, but those wouldn't make the same amount of money that Game Freak would make. Hence why the Pokemon Company saw Game Freak, you know, just as the main guys. Even Nintendo saw Game Freak as the main guys. The people who made the money was what they had there. But with the release of Pokemon Go, there's been a shift. Now, this shift is the fact that Pokemon Go makes money, a lot of money. Amount of money that actually conquers that of what the mainline games make. considering the amount of cost you would spend on making a mainline game versus just keeping up Pokemon Go or making a brand new mobile game which could take only about a year to develop for far less money and smaller team. And that's what the problem is, right? Game Freak is losing influence, and they're realizing that, guess what, we're going to be able to still sell our games with the amount of effort we're putting in, just being minimal. We're still going to sell our games because people will still buy them. Fans will still buy them because they'll be blind to it. They'll be blind to it and they'll still buy it, and we'll still be able to sell millions and make all that money. So why don't we just put our main focus over onto something else? And this has created a constraint and kind of a problem on Pokemon Sword and Shield in particular. As you may notice, there's a lot of graphical issues within Sword and Shield. The lack of the Pokedex, which should have been there, the National Dex should have just been full. It should have been there. They should have been able to do it. There is no excuses for them not being able to do it. It should be doable. They already have everything ready to go, but the reason they aren't doing it right now is because they're cutting corners. They're cutting corners so they can put their focus onto other IPs, which they hope can kind of keep them going if Pokemon is fully taken away from them. Now, when I say, when I'm talking about when I say taken away, I'm not talking about the little IP just being grabbed for them and them not making Pokemon anymore, because they still own a big chunk of the Pokemon company. They have a big influence there still. They still own the whole thing. Not the whole thing, but they still own a chunk of it, which means that, they still have a big influence on it. But that's not really the only issue we have here. The reason I'm talking about this and them losing ground is that if Pokemon is starting to more focus on mobile games such as Pokemon Masters, and those make more money, Pokemon and Game Freak will not need to put as much effort into the mainline games, and they will start getting worse and worse, and we'll start seeing more and more features that were unique to those games just randomly showing up individually in mobile games spread out across several games. And that could be honestly pretty problematic. If we look at Pokemon Masters, the feature of Pokemon Masters, all the features that are in it are already features that we've seen in Pokemon games prior. And also, one of the main things about it, which is all these characters and all these random characters and stuff, is something that we've also seen before with Pokemon Black and White, with the, World League and all that. So we've already kind of seen this. This isn't something brand new. We've already seen these things, and now they're just coming in a smaller package on your phone with microtransactions, and that's all that's really happening. And now, how do we know specifically that Pokemon Masters is in this kind of high position? Well, think about how the game was revealed. The game wasn't revealed in just your random trailer or just random off tweet. No, they made an actual announcement live stream, something they never really do for any of the other mobile games. Think of Magikarp Jump or Pokemon Duel or any of those mobile games in recent times. They usually just kind of get popped out there. They just kind of put them out in the world, and they don't really care much about them. They just literally put them in your face, and there you go, there's the game, go download it. Even look at Pokemon Rumble, for example. It just came out of nowhere and was just like, here you go, the game's released now. And, it's just kind of oh, okay, cool. What's the deal? What the hell? You know what I mean? That's kind of what happened there. And now with Pokemon Masters, it's different, though. And why is that? Because they're taking features from mainline games, and they want to put far more focus on that. They want to put far more focus on these sort of things because they know that they can make so much money from Pokemon Masters because it's got these gacha features. It's a gacha game, okay? They know they're going to have a bunch of dumb whales who are going to spend $5,000 on, just random stuff in those games, just opening boxes to get the characters they want and stuff like that. You know that's going to happen. That's going to happen. There is no denying that. That's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be whales out there, 10,000 people in the world that have just casually $10,000 to spend, and they're gonna do that. And that's what these sort of games make their money off of. Whales, people that just come in and spend tons of money straight away. And imagine this, if this game has gems or something, and they have options between buy 500 gems for $5 and whatever, there's probably gonna be an option for $99 for 10,000 gems. And trust me, there will be people who will buy that. Maybe a one-time purchase, but that's still $100 that somebody out there is gonna give to this company for just a bunch of in-game gems to a game that doesn't even feature a full-fledged thing to it. Sure, Pokemon Masters looks great, it looks fun, it looks like an interesting game, but it's gonna have some sort of energy meter that's gonna block your progress. Now, back to what I was saying though, these games were announced in such a different manner than all the other ones. They didn't get a full-on Pokemon Direct, but they got an announcement live stream, a big announcement, even a bigger thing, which was the animated trailer. The animated trailer really got to me, because I was like, man, that is really awesome. They clearly put a lot of effort into this. They clearly put more effort into this than they did with, just kind of the reveals of every other, mobile game. Seriously, we haven't seen an animated trailer for a Pokemon game ever since Oras. That was the last time we saw this, okay? And that was to introduce the brand new Mega Evolutions, and that was actually epic. I think most fans, if not every fan, actually appreciates those and kind of likes those animations for what they are. Not because they're greatly animated or better than the Pokemon anime, but rather just because of what they are, which is like a fun little trailer thing to just kind of get us excited for Pokemon. And they just did that, but they haven't done that for Sword and Shield, as you may notice. For Sword and Shield, we didn't get that. We haven't gotten an animated trailer, but we did get it for a mobile game? For an actual mobile game, we got that. And this is where the problem lies, guys. Game Freak is losing ground. Game Freak is no longer the top dog over at the Pokemon Company. There are other people now taking over the spots. There are other things that can make far more money, and I think Pokemon Go is really the like root issue to all this. They're realizing that Game Freak just doesn't need to do all that work, and Game Freak is in this position now where they have been cutting corners for ages. Even Masuda, ever since Black and White, he's kind of lost his edge when it comes to Pokemon, and that's just the truth of the matter. He's been looking into making games far more simple and far more like mobile games. Why? Because he's noticing now that mobile games make far more money, they're far easier to make, and it's just far more profitable to keep them afloat. And of course he's going to look at it that way because he's a businessman, and he's, he's looking at this from the thing that's going to make, the Pokemon Company and Game Freak rather stay afloat for the longest amount of time. And that's probably the most logical way to look at it from his perspective, but not for us, because Game Freak's been cutting corners even since before Pokemon Go came out. X and Y was the beginning. In those games, we didn't get 100 brand new Pokemon, we got about 79 or something, right? New Pokemon, which is the biggest cut they'd made for ages. Then we got ORAS releasing, and ORAS was great in its regards, you know what I mean? But the biggest problem with ORAS was, again, it was a feature cutting thing, which was they removed the Battle Frontier, and I really wanted to see the Battle Frontier in that game. But that's not the only thing. We then had Sun and Moon, which is a rushed game according to development and, issues that were created. And then you had Ultra Sun and Moon release, which could have been a follow-up game, like kind of a Black and White 2 were, but instead it was just kind of like your Emerald type game, which was kind of like the definitive version, which had features in it that should have been in Sun and Moon to begin with, but weren't. So again, there's another problem. And then you had Let's Go Peach, Let's Go Eevee, which was really just the most egregious thing ever, because those games were made in 2 years. Of course, business-wise, it was a genius decision. You were playing off of people's nostalgia, and also you were playing off of just kind of like Pokemon hype to be on the first time on the console, and people were like, cool. And then you were trying to push in, and really, that's what the biggest thing with Pokemon Go was. They were really trying to drag in fans who were playing Pokemon Go by having these features that were in Pokemon Go. That was their main attempt here. They're really just trying to kind of capitalize on that mobile market. That's what they're trying to do. That's where Game Freak's aim is right now. They're trying to pull you guys who are playing Pokemon Go in to play the mainline games. And that's going to be very hard because the people who play the mobile games aren't really the same people who really always play the mainline games. It's a little bit of a different thing here, I have a friend who's never played a mainline Pokemon game, but he does play Pokemon Go on his phone casually. And see, that's where we are right now. We're going to keep seeing more corner cutting in future Pokemon games, and sooner or later, Game Freak's going to lose more and more influence. They're going to start making the games more and more simple, more and more dumbed down. I mean, I'm telling you right now, expect Let's Go Johto to be the dumbest version of Johto you've ever seen. The most dumbed down, least featureful, and just nothing's going to be in it. And it's really sad, because all this really stems from the mobile market in general. It's caused this issue, is the cause reason for all these problems being created. But not just that. Next year, there's going to be another DNA game coming out. Now, I'm not sure if this is the same thing as Masters, Pokemon Masters, but it's apparently another game that's been, that's in development now for next year to be released. And who knows if that game next year is going to be some sort of smaller version of a Pokemon RPG, but on mobile. Who knows? Maybe they'll take features that we've seen, like, for example, the sprites that we saw back in old Pokemon games, like old school Pokemon games. Maybe they'll make a sprite type game, like an RPG, like a small one, but with microtransactions for next year. Anything's possible at this point, and I think that's what the problem is, because next year we might see the beginning of the end for Pokemon as we know it. We might start seeing, Game Freak games just get smaller and smaller and smaller in scale in terms of what they have in terms of features and stuff, and just get more and more rushed so they can focus on other projects that will make them money on another side than Pokemon. So who knows, ladies and gentlemen, but I'd love to know your opinions on this. I think that we have a major problem on our hands. I think that this is a problem that is going to be created due to Pokemon Masters, because they're seemingly putting a lot more effort into Pokemon Masters than anything else. So let me know in the comment section down below, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts, what are your opinions on this? I'd love to know, and have yourselves a great bloody day. Peace out, ladies and gentlemen, and bye-bye.